Hi, this is your host, Toti Casino, for this segment of Trends Analysis for the Business Portal. And our episode for this portion is the constitutional reform. And with our guest is the co-founder, I was going to stand corrected on that, of the Get Real Philippines, and also the co-founder of CoRRECT Movement, none other than Orion Perez Dumdum. So you're saying quickly you have some slides presentation here.
Yes, that's right. I'd hope they can show the slides.
All right.
What exactly is CoRRECT again? I'd like to show CoRRECT is actually constitutional reform and rectification for economic competitiveness and transformation.
Next slide.
And what is that all about? Next slide. Okay, so it's about economic liberalization, removing the protectionist economic provisions of the 1987 Constitution, evolution to region-based decentralization. So that means the different options like quasi or semi-federalism. That's like in the UK or in Spain, okay?
Right.
They're not fully federalized.
Okay.
Or full federalism, which is like the USA or Germany or India.
Right.
And last but not the least, we have the shift to the parliamentary system. And there are many options there. It doesn't have to be only one type. There is the British Westminster style, there's the Spanish style, the German style, and Turkish style.
The Philippines, being a former colony, falls under the Spanish style.
We could borrow that, yes.
Okay.
We could also borrow the British Westminster. We could learn from them
All right.
also.
Moving forward, next slide.
So moving forward, it's quite clear actually that there is this whole consensus among many
Political scientists
that says that essentially the parliamentary system is superior. So we have the late Dr. Fred Riggs, who said that no country following a presidentialist model except the USA has been able to avoid at least one such disruption. In many, the disruptions are frequent, and disruptions could mean things like coup d'etats or things like people power movements, that oust people out of power. These happen very, very frequently in presidential models.
How about in Egypt?
Egypt is presidential.
All right.
Yeah. So you have Hosni Mubarak is president.
And also in Iran?
Iran is a presidential theocracy. Yeah.
Okay.
We have Dr. Arendt Leiphardt. He says parliamentary government works better than presidential government. And the foremost scholar as far as presidential versus parliamentary is concerned, Dr. Juan Lintz, he says presidentialism is ineluctably problematic. Okay. Next slide. All right, and there are books that actually talk about this for the Philippine situation. Presidential Bandwagon, Parties and Party Systems in the Philippines is by Dr. Yuko Kasya. She's Japanese, but she stayed in the Philippines for some time and studied our system in detail. She's not saying that we have to move to the parliamentary system, but if you read it, you will find out we need to. She talks about all the little problems of our system, and you'll find them all in detail there. There's another one which is actually free, which you can get from the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. You go to the website and then you download it there. It's in PDF format. It's called Democratic Deficits in the Philippines, What is to be Done? It's by Dr. Clarita Carlos and Dennis Lalata. Okay. And the next, this here shows the ballots in the USA. People are probably wondering, why does the US system seem to work? Well, to begin with, their system is that you do not vote the president and vice president separately. What you have is one single selector, but two different names. So you cannot say you're going to vote for Obama and Palin. It's not possible. Democrat and Republican. You cannot mix and match.
Like what we have right now.
What we have here
Noy and
Binay,
right?
That's not possible. In the States, they have one shading area, two names. And that's what you can show there. In fact, in the US, the first part of their ballot shows straight ticket party voting options, which means most people in the States, by the way, something like 70% of Americans, when they vote, they don't vote separately. Okay, meaning to say president, vice president, one, and then they vote for their congressman, congressman and senator separately. What they do normally is at the very start of their ballot, they vote. It says there, do you want to vote full Republican, full Democrat, or full whatever, Green Party or whatever? So you shade Republican. If you want to go full scale Republican,
block voting.
It's called block voting here in the Philippines. Unfortunately, the correct term is really straight ticket voting.
Okay.
Because block voting can mean like what the INC does, the Iglesia ni Cristo, which is that they vote as a block. for a stipulated candidate. In the
So
states,
this
that's
one-
what they call it.
Okay, that
This is what
makes
they call
sense.
straight ticket voting.
That
So
makes sense.
when you vote, it's faster. It doesn't take you an hour to choose and mix and match who are you going to vote for each and every position.
Okay.
So next slide, please. Here, this shows the weakness of the presidential system. The reason being that you concentrate the power in just one person. Okay, and because the power is concentrated in one person, he has the power for veto and he has the power for dispersing pork barrel. That single person, is always susceptible to influence by outsiders. So you can have theocratic religious extremists, rent-seeking oligarchs. You can have friends and family, bubulong-bulong and all that stuff. So that's the weakness.
Which is common here.
Which is common here in the Philippines. Yeah.
Okay.
Next slide. This slide here basically talks about the parliamentary system's party dynamics. On the vertical level, you can see that there is a intra-party competition among the people within the party. The best person, okay, the most dynamic, the most intelligent, the most hardworking guy ends up becoming party leader. And the other guys who are also good, they become the ministers. They're the deputies, front bench MPs. And then you have that happening in each and every party, so that always the best person is on the top. Now, on the horizontal axis, inter-party, okay, not intra-party, but inter-party, the voters will vote for which party they feel has the best platform that is relevant to them.
Okay.
So, if they vote for Labour Party or Conservative Party in the UK, for example, you're sure to have the best person on top.
So you vote for ideology, you don't vote for personality.
Yes, not for personality. So we can go to the next slide. This slide here shows that there is an evolution of forms of government. The original forms of government long ago were absolute monarchies. And moving forward in history, you started having a devolution of powers. So from absolute monarchy, you end up with a parliamentary system within a constitutional monarchy in some of these countries, whereby instead of having an absolute monarch who has all the power, you end up having the representatives of the people having all the power, and the absolute monarch is just a ceremonial leader. And in between, you have these powerful monarchies, fairly strong monarchy, constitutional monarchy with strong parliament. Those are intermediary. But when you move to the right, because the one on the left is traditional hereditary systems.
Yeah.
On the right, you have the modern non-hereditary systems. From absolute monarchy, you can actually have its counterpart in a so-called republican system, which is a dictatorship or a despotism.
Okay.
So you have those. And then moving one step down, you have the presidential system.
All right.
Moving one step down, you have the semi-presidential system. Going to the most evolved form, you have a parliamentary system within a republic, like Singapore or India.
Okay.
Okay, next. And here it shows that in a parliamentary system, there is no single person who monopolizes power. The prime minister is not actually supreme. He's not the supreme head. He is only primus inter pares, which means first among equals. So he has equal voting rights with the rest of the people in the parliament.
Just like a cooperative.
So it's like a cooperative. It's a very collegial body.
Yeah.
So if you're a vested interest and you want to influence government, you cannot bribe just one person, unlike in a presidential system.
Okay.
In a parliamentary system, if you want to bribe anyone, you're going to have to bribe the whole party, the whole majority
It's going
group.
to be more difficult.
It's very expensive. Okay, and this here shows this slide shows what is the superior check and balance system of the parliamentary system. It's called the shadow cabinet. So in the parliamentary system, you have prime minister, who's the leader of the party, of the majority, and you have the different ministers. Okay, but the opposition also has corresponding shadow ministers. So the leader of the opposition, he checks against the prime minister. The shadow minister for finance, he checks against the Minister for Finance. So you have a superior check and balance system.
Okay.
Okay, next one. What we have here is actually the economic performance of parliamentary versus presidential systems. So when we look at the top 20 countries based on GDP per capita, and this is based on 2009 results, you can see very clearly a lot of these green colors. The green ones actually show parliamentary democracies. Okay, if you look at the red, there's only one. The red one is presidential, and it's only the USA. Only the USA. In the case of Finland and France, you have countries which are semi-presidential. So in total, the presidential systems are only like 3 of them.
Okay.
And all the rest are parliamentary or absolute monarchies from these rich oil-rich countries. Okay. If we go to the next one.
Next slide, please.
Next slide. Or sorry, go back to the first slide.
Yeah.
Go back to that slide. Let's look at the bottom. Okay, the bottom ones. It shows the presidential system or semi-presidential systems predominating in the bottom 30 countries. So you have military juntas as well. And yeah, most of them are presidential or semi-presidential.
African countries.
Mostly African countries or Latin American countries or
the Philippines.
Yeah, the Philippines is not there yet, but we will soon be there.
Okay.
So it's very clear, you know.
Next slide.
Next slide. People need to understand that you need to change systems because systems can change behavior. Systems basically set up positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement. If you have a system that rewards popularity and winnability and name recall, then you are going to have leaders who only have popularity, winnability, and name recall.
Okay.
But if you have a system which actually allows more of the competent people to emerge on top, then you end up with more competent people. Next one. And what determines successful behavior? There is always the whole idea of the environment and ecosystem, climate, harshness of the environment. And we also, at the very bottom, we also have our hereditary system.
We're down to 1 minute.
We have our genetics, you know, who we are.
Okay.
But in the middle, we have what we can change. That is a societal system, our government system, how we raise our families right next, and our own personal, individual personalities. We can change that as well. Okay? How systems can determine destiny? System induces behavior. Behavior, when reinforced, becomes habit. Habit, when embedded, becomes character. Character, when shared and passed on to the next generations, becomes culture. And culture, if you have a good culture, becomes you have a strong nation. You have a good destiny.
Okay.
And this is our website. It's called antipinoy.com, and these are some of the articles that I have that talk about the parliamentary system and all that.
There you have it. Concluding statement. We're down to our last few seconds.
Yeah, we need to really change our system here in the Philippines. We need to start emulating other countries, not just the USA. There's Malaysia, there's Singapore, there are all these other countries in Europe. We have a lot more in common with Malaysia and Singapore and Spain. We have to follow them. We have to at least learn from them.
All right.
We're more similar to those 2 countries than we are to the US.
Okay, thank you very much, Orion. It's been a pleasure having you here on our show. We hope we can invite you again.
Thank you very much for having me.
This has been your host for this segment on Trends and Analysis, Dr. Casino. Do stay tuned for more on Business Portal.